Bonjour class, today we're learning a verb called être. It's the one up here. It has the e, accent circonflexe, t, r, e. This is one of the most important verbs that we're going to learn, probably for all of French, so it's really important. This subject, it's fairly straightforward, it just takes some memorization, so please take good notes so that we can practice well. Just a little bit of background, notre point de départ. In French, just like in English, verbs express actions. So sometimes it seems a little bit more like an action, like here where it says, le professeur parle français. So that's one example of a verb. Parler in French means speak. The verb that we're focusing on today for être, it means to be. So it is the French equivalent of the English verb to be. A few definitions that we need to go over just so that we understand what we're doing when we talk about verbs in French is what an infinitive is and then what conjugation is. So infinitives are the complete form of the verb. They don't necessarily match a certain person, but it's just the general definition. So in English, for example, infinitives are the form of the verb that always start with the word to. So to read, to dance, to study, it stands on its own. Or it can be in a sentence like I like to study. But you would never say I to study, you'd say I study. So in English, the infinitives always start with to. In French, infinitives are only one word. So instead of saying to study, they just say étudier. So it's just one word instead of two words like we're used to seeing in English. So it can be a little bit different. So that's what an infinitive is. It's the complete form of the verb that doesn't necessarily match a certain person. Conjugated verbs, those are the ones that match the subject. So infinitive and conjugated verbs, those are opposites. So conjugated verbs, if the infinitive is to read, the conjugated verb would be I read. If the infinitive is to dance, conjugated could be she dances, or I dance, or we dance. If the infinitive is to study, one of the conjugated possibilities could be we study, or I study, or they study. So être is an irregular verb. We don't know much about regular verbs right now, so just keep in mind there are some patterns out there in French verbs, but this one doesn't have a pattern, it's just irregular. So être is the infinitive, the part that says to be, and then down here in the chart you can see all the different forms of its conjugation. So these are different ways we're familiar in English. You'd say I am, you are, he is. Just like you couldn't say you am or I are. It's important that we keep the right order for French too, for proper grammar. So to say I am in French, you say je suis. To say you are, and remember this is the you, this is tu, so this is informal and also just for one person. So to say you are is tu es. To say he, she, or it is il or elle est. Remember, il is for he, and elle is for she, and that's pronounced a, even though it's spelled est. These tu es and il est, so they're pronounced the same way, even though they're spelled differently. Then we have on est. This is one is. One is a way to avoid saying he or she. So in English, a lot of times we say we are all ready for this. But in English, it's more common to use on instead of we. So on est. To say we are in French, you'd say nous sommes. You don't pronounce the S at the end, it's just nous sommes. To say you are, and this is the you with vous, so we know that that means it's formal or plural or both. Vous êtes. To say they are is ils or elles sont. So remember, you'd use ils for they if there are any men in the group, and you use elle for they only if it's all women in the group. So again, être is to be, je suis, I am, tu es, you are, il est, he is, elle est, she is, on est, one is, nous sommes, we are, vous êtes, you are, ils or elles sont, they are. And one quick note about the pronunciation. You'll notice again, instead of reading vous êtes, in the French they run this together in something called the liaison. It makes the sound like the English Z. So instead of vous êtes, it becomes vous êtes. Vous êtes à Paris, you are in Paris. Vous êtes Monsieur Leclerc, are you Mr. Leclerc? Enchanté, pleased to meet you. So again, instead of vous êtes, vous êtes. And we've talked about a as meaning is. So if you're talking about an object, you would use c'est. C'est is it is or that is, and then ce sont is going to be the plural. So c'est un téléphone, it's a telephone. Ce sont des photos, those are pictures. C'est Amina, that's Amina. So you can use it for people sometimes, but it's a little bit more rare. So let's do just a little bit of practice. Take a few moments to fill these out in your notes. So je suis ici, for example. Il, and then what would the answer for intelligent be? Tu, étudiante. So you want to fill these in so that it says they are intelligent. You are a student. Nous, blank, à Québec. Vous, blank, Madame Lacroix. Marie, blank, chanteuse. So take a minute, pause here to fill these out on your own. We're going to be going over the answers in just a moment. So pause here so that you can write them out yourself. So for number 1, it's je suis ici, I am here. Number 2, the way that you're going to fill in the conjugation there, it'll be ils sont intelligents, sont spelled S-O-N-T. Tu es étudiante, est spelled E-S. Numéro 4, nous sommes à Québec. Sommes, ça s'écrit S-O-M-M-E-S. Numéro 5, vous êtes, Madame Lacroix. Êtes, ça s'écrit E, accent circonflexe, T-E-S. Et numéro 6, Marie est chanteuse. E-S-T. So make sure that you understand why those are there. Try to practice memorizing the different conjugations for this, and let me know what questions you have tomorrow. À tout à l'heure.